Hi everybody, Mature Simmer here. So I am back here on Hobo's Hollow. First time we're going to be able to get some work done, but the grass is ready to go. So I am going to do the grass work. Alright, so I am going to take a look here and see if I can just do this without any kind of headland. This isn't that large. It's not the Seed Hawk, for example. I think I've got enough borders everywhere. I mean, obviously I'm going to have a little bit of a challenge here in that I've got the plow right there, but other than that, I think I'll be okay. So again, if you've not used these, I think Koenigsegg mowers, yeah, I'll probably just leave that little bit. It's not really going to matter that much. I don't have to get every tiny bit, especially since I'm really just leaving a tiny swath. It's not worth adjusting that small bit. But if you've not used these before, you can see they're actually really great because they just leave a nice windrow right there. Now once again, if I want to ted this into hay, which I may do with some of it, obviously then I need to windrow it back, but at a minimum, like if I'm just doing some grass to get silage going in the fermenting silo, which is what I'm going to start with, it doesn't need to be windrowed or tedded at all. And so I think today what I'm going to focus on is just getting some of that silage going, and then I'll worry about hay next time. And I may change my mind like once I see the quantity that I'm getting. So let's see, that should work. It's again new farm, new fields, or new map, new fields, really. Just trying to figure out what the work mode is going to be the best of for certain things. So I think that'll be fine. I don't want to, have curves at the end that I need to pick up or anything, so I'm lifting the mowers at each end. But yeah, we got put on here in May, if you recall. So I knew I had to wait a couple days, which worked well for just with my schedule. There's really nothing else that worked well with. So haven't been back on here to even take a peek at anything. Still the only one on. So I know that they mentioned they contacted the other two folks, but I think at this point, because they didn't get put on the server, it's possible that they're going to have to wait till after the holiday, because I think folks aren't really operating beginning, well, today. So that's one of the challenges. So I can do that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, there might be some spots that are going to be a little tricky to turn, but some of it's going to depend on how everything lines up. So we'll just have to see how everything goes and kind of go from there. But I'm imagining this shouldn't be too terribly long. I mean, it's still probably going to be hours of work, an hour or two, but I don't know that it's going to be longer than that. So definitely, one of the things I wasn't able to share, and it's certainly better here in the daylight. I mean, it is kind of late afternoon, so getting close to being dark, but one of the things I have missed is being on a map that has hills, but I think this one's even nicer in that, there's very clearly mountains around us. We're not on a mountainous map, per se, but you can see with the edges, like there's clearly more than just tiny little hills around. So kind of that feeling of being in a mountain region is something I really have not had the opportunity to frankly do in FSN, and so that was another thing with this map that drew me to it once it was presented by one of the FMs, because it's something I've been trying to do. We did have the Great Smoky Mountains map in FS19. I think there was one server that did that, but I never even got to do contracts on that map. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't looking specifically for any. I would just kind of look when I needed to look for things, and so I think the people that were on that map, they just didn't do a lot of help off of it, or I just didn't get to see it. I don't know. I did play the Great Smoky Mountains map in single player some. Definitely enjoyed it. You know, I'm not saying that that's what we've got here, but it kind of gives a nod to that a little bit. So I do enjoy that aspect of it as well, just the feel of it. One of the things I'm certainly trying to understand is just how many rows I'm going to have here from the GPS standpoint to work across. So 0 wasn't the edge. I kind of set the GPS a little bit on the field. It obviously counts from 0 up or down. We're going in the negative direction, so starting on this side of the field, that's kind of how it will work, which is fine. But my guess is 30? I'm going to say it's going to be in the 30s. So we'll see how that all goes. Now again, on the top portion of this field, we've got a little bit more of the sandy loam, if I recall. So if we look at that, you can see, yes, it's sandy loam, and a little bit of loamy sand. We have no silty clay at all, which is excellent. So we can see, you know, the challenge is now, this is probably the best I'm going to be able to get. I might be able to do some things with weed control, but I have a challenge right now. In the way precision farming works, it looks at your entire space of land and then determines how much of that you've applied fertilizer and lime to, and then sets your score accordingly. So I can't max out any more than that unless I suddenly increase my field portion, which obviously I'm not going to be doing. But 85 certainly isn't a terrible score for the environmental score. So I am going to go ahead and get this work done. It's obviously going to take a bit of time, just like anything on these fields will, with the size that we have. And at this point, I don't really have a lot to talk about, like I did on Shellbrook, where there was a lot of things going on. Everything else, you know, that we were talking about at the end in Shellbrook, and at this point, like this is now, these episodes will now be in sequence after Shellbrook, so you're going to have had a little bit of a break if you watch the original couple Hobos Hollows episodes. But now this is just going to fall into the normal cycle of every other day, except skipping over the weekend series, whatever that happens to be, which, you know, right now is the VIP series. Likely that's what it'll be for the foreseeable future, because I'm certainly enjoying that, and hopefully folks are enjoying that content too. But there was a lot of conversation in Shellbrook about everything I was waiting on, like moving to this map and starting generational farming, and obviously now these things are done. And so I'm sure there's going to be plenty of opportunities in the future to chat a little bit more. But at this point, I'm not looking to just create really long episodes of me talking about nothing, and I frankly have nothing to talk about today. So if that changes, I may be back before, if I suddenly think of something. But otherwise, I'll see you as I'm nearing the end of the field, so that we can kind of see what rows we're looking at. Because at this point, I'm probably just going to stay vertical, because these need to be collected. So it's different than, say, planting, where I could go and change the directions. I'm not sure that makes a whole lot of sense in the way this is working, or at least I'm going to try it the first time this way and see what I feel about it, because the collecting will work too, because, you know, I'm heading over to the fermenting silo at this point, and so kind of just going north-south. Yeah, that'll work well, and I know that makes more sense, especially for this part of the field, than going across. And invariably, this is what I do. You'll find out if you're new to the series or the channel. I just kind of keep talking about things, and then before I know it, I've done the whole field. But no, you know, I could have gone across because obviously the silo's over there, but this area would have been a lot shorter cuts, where we just have the shorter cuts in the center here that you can see. And then you can see the fermenting silo coming into view over there, but then the field kind of knobs out a bit. So overall, I think this is going to give us kind of the fewest number of rows and the longest rows, so that when I'm collecting things with a forage wagon, I think it's going to be a lot more efficient. So that's the logic of why I went this way. But I'm going to keep going, and I will catch up with you in a moment. Lining up on the last row here, so we're going to get a good cut and a good swath. So you can see I was not a bad estimate. It's 36, as you can see, but overall, like, because we didn't start at 0 at the edge of the field, we're really closer to 40 all the way across. So there's a good amount of rows here for certain. So one of the things I did realize that I hadn't covered is I had posted the first 2 episodes pretty quickly because I was looking for feedback on exactly what folks thought made sense for the farm. And so I have gotten some responses, and unanimously it was really go all in on grass. Everybody felt that was the best thing to do. But there was someone who kind of was of the stance then, yeah, maybe as you get more fields in the future you can do crops, but like right now, just go all in on grass. So I'm gonna do that somewhat, and you know, all in might be a little bit different than what folks might do themselves, because it doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to do all the fields, which I think is really ultimately going to make the most sense, because otherwise I am really just doing nothing but grass on the FSN systems or the servers. Oops. So we gotta lower this. It's always a problem with those. Lots of other things will kind of just fall off and go, but it doesn't appear to be the case. So I think I'm gonna use the Steiger. So I've got that over here. I might just leave this sitting here. There's nothing that really keeps me from doing that. And that way it's out of the way, because it's really big. But what I've started to think about is, I think by the road I could go ahead and put in at least the biogas. I've never used a biogas plant myself. I've sold things to the biogas plant, so I honestly have no idea what I'm getting into. So that will be a new experience for me, certainly. So there's a bit of intrigue there, which was part of, you know, what was driving me to try to think about it on Shellbrook, and then just prudence said, well, we're moving, investing in a close to $1 million building, probably not the thing to do, because I'm not going to get anywhere near that back. And so certainly that is something that I'm going to have to understand a little bit more of from others, although, I'm wondering, let me look at this, because the challenge ends up being, this requires 300, but I think my other tractor, no, it's 445. Okay. So I'm going to punt because what this does is I've already got the track set of where I've been with the other tractor, and so it's just easier because it's all set. I know what I mean. I think I'm doing a terrible job of explaining and using my words to express ideas in ways that other humans can understand. But you can see here, like, if I don't change the width, the working width, I've got the rows set already for what I mowed. So it just makes it super simple to then go ahead and pick things up. And then I don't have to like reset a track and figure out how to make it and so forth. So you can see there, like, now I'm right down the center, and this way I can just follow the tracks I've been doing. So yeah, so we've got 36, 37, 38, 39. So it's almost 40. So we've got 2 more on top of the 36 plus 0, basically. Alright, so let's do that. Turn this on. Hopefully we'll get most of it. If we don't get all of it, again, grass is one of those things that there's just so much of it that maximizing it isn't necessarily that important, because basically every 2 months I can get more of it, except in the winter months. But as I've started to learn with the heavy grass work I'm doing in generational farming, like, there's a lot of grass available, which is a good thing if that's what you're doing. But if I'm going in kind of all in, it becomes one of those, like, why wait on the biogas plant? I wasn't going to wait on the biogas plant when I was originally doing it. The only thing would potentially be, well, I don't have anything to put in there, because I think I need silage. I don't think I can put raw grass into the biogas plant. So I think it has to be silage or slurry or manure. And, I'll have slurry, which was the other reason I was going to get it. But then I think I can also do silage, which, once again, if I'm doing all in on grass, as opposed to what I was doing in Shellbrook, where I wasn't cutting grass, and it certainly wasn't cutting the entire field. Every time I had the opportunity, I may do something different here on Hobo's Hollow, at least to start out, and see what I think of it. So that's kind of part of this whole process, is just seeing what makes sense and, what feels like something that I feel is sustainable and enjoyable. Because while farming in and of itself, I guess, if I'm talking to a real farmer, they might tell me, you do what's profitable, not what's enjoyable. Like that's not what farming is about. Farming is about making a living. There's a little bit of, hey, I enjoy the things I'm doing, the sustainability of the environment maybe, or something like that, but, making choices for fun in real life farming doesn't make a lot of sense, because even, as you can see, the pricing is probably reflective of what you'd be dealing with on a farm. And we put $1.5 million in just to put these 3 buildings in, saying, hey, I would just want to play with this. I'm going to spend $1.5 million. I guess that works if you're Elon Musk or something and you have billions, but most of us don't have those kind of resources available. So similarly, a farmer might tell me, don't look at it that way, but this is a simulation and it's a game, and part of why I do this is I find it enjoyable, and so I'm certainly going to do things that I find enjoyable as well with it. Alright, so we're going to do that. And then what that means, alright, I already have that turned on, so you can see I've already got 11 liters of silage. So one of the reasons I like this is it is fast. It does a lot of things, and it does them very, very quickly. You know, we'll see what I think about placement of all of this, but I still think I'm going to like it more, even though it's not center-center. I don't know that I could fully do center-center, but I think it's going to be effective where it doesn't feel like I'm going really, really far to get back to things. Where even on Misty Brook, when I was doing this, there was a little bit of a feeling of there's just a long way to go when I was getting to the back end of the field, because it was kind of at a border, and this removes it from being per se at a border. I'm trying to remember, I think everything's off when I do this, so I just need to go that route. And again, I'm certainly leaving pieces on the field, and that's alright. I mean, I'm clearly cutting way past the edge of the field. I think I'm picking up 100%. Now, I don't understand why I have some pieces laying off to the side. That is interesting. I mean, I'm pretty centered on the swath, but we've got little pieces that got thrown out, and that might simply be because I think it's angled. You know, the terrain is sloped in this direction. That's probably a better word. Well, and actually, now that I look at this, I'm really not centered. So if I do that, I'm probably going to be better. But it may also have shifted like this because the terrain is sloped, and so the swath fell a little bit off kilter. I can fit nearly 1 million into that silo, and so what will happen is once I fill that, obviously I have nowhere else to put grass, so then I'm either starting up hay, which I can do, or I at least take a load over to my biogas plant. So what I think I'm going to do, because this is becoming pretty obvious, 20 loads is going to be more than I can handle in the fermenting silo, given that I know I have 39 rows, and basically a row and just a segment of that is a full trailer. I'm going to have more than I need here. So I am going to line myself up on this next row. Alright, I'm going to pick this up, and then I'll kind of position it. So I'll probably end up, honestly, like skipping rows, because clearly it's too sharp to line back up here, and doing this is just a huge waste of time. It's 30 seconds or something. But I'm going to stop this, and we're going to try to place the biogas plant. So yeah, I was thinking, yeah, this is what I'll do. Now that I see the size of this, this is definitely all that I would do. So yeah, this should work. The question becomes, because I don't think the back of it does anything. You know, I've got to look over here. I need to be far enough from the roadway, and I think I would be there. But all the inputs are on this side, so this would seem to make a lot of sense. And this is a 250,000 kilowatt, where this one's 500, that one's 100. So I'm getting more than double. I mean, in theory, this is really the best thing. It's just, I don't know that I'm going to be able to fill that. Like, I don't know what like how fast that consumes things. I may just not have enough grass, but this is like too big at this point. But this is like the only place I can put things is down here by the road. So the other option I have is over here, But yeah, this still isn't big enough. So I think just so I don't have to do a lot of craziness, because it's not like I'm like, whoa, my goodness, I gotta max out the biogas. I just have to pay for it eventually. And I think I had figured out numbers and so forth, and you know, I think this is going to take longer to pay, but it just fits where the other thing just doesn't. So we're going to go with this. Whoops, why is this not letting me put this here? I thought it let me at one point. Because I saw dollars. I don't understand. Is it because I have grass? I think I ran into this before. Because like right now, like I can't place this. Alright, so we're gonna go punt. I'm gonna go ahead and run down over where I think I'm placing this, and I'm gonna start collecting those up, because I think what I'm running into is the fact that I have grass sticking out, and I had the same problem in generational farming, so at least I've seen this issue before, where suddenly I went to place my fermenting silo and it was like, nope, you can't because you're overlapping objects, and then I thought it was trees, and then ultimately what I determined was, no, it was the fact that there was grass. So, so let me start like with the long ones. And then, you know, this, whoops, this should pick it up. And I'll just kind of go into the field, although, again, I'm going to have to do a few things here, because obviously I am missing pieces, and in this case, any tiny little segment that is sticking out, because I don't want to go onto the field, so, but I think this one's like right in the sweet spot of where I might want to be. So I'm going to be careful there, but I should be able to do this pickup pretty quickly. There we go. So now I see that I have some opportunities. I want to get it closer to the road, so, but again, I can't be too close to the road, so I need to be careful. So we're supposed to build things 5 meters from the roadway. So if I head this way, let's see. So, like, I don't know. I can go past the trees a bit. I can go past that bush. So we'll see if that is something I can, like, visually figure out. Alright, now I'm confused because, like, I was able to place this a moment ago. Like, what suddenly is different? I don't know exactly what's different, but this works. I can't go that way. I can go this way. It's only $489, so it has to be pretty flat. But yes, I'm way past the bushes. I'm actually behind the trees. So if I go kind of even here, I'm in good shape. So there we go. So now we have a biogas plant. So when we said we're going all in, well, there you go. We're in. I don't need to be measuring anymore, so I'll stop doing that. But at this point, that's kind of what I wanted to show you, and I wanted to get that set up. I suppose. Alright, let's redirect. Because I should be able to now deliver this silage there and then kind of see what happens. You know, and I may just make money because there's silage. I assume it goes in that bin because, again, I think this is slurry, and then like digestate comes out of one of these. So I think I deliver here if I can. maybe I can't. So let's see. Silage in, slurry, manure, cut sugar beets. Okay. So I can't deliver grass, so that makes it easy. Alright. So I probably could have just checked that before, but like I said, I barely know what I'm doing with these things. I clearly don't even know what I'm doing with my own tractor. I'm jumping out of it and jumping back in. But that's what I wanted to cover. I'm going to go ahead and get this done. It's probably going to go into the evening. It's starting to get dark. But, you know, I'll get it done either today or tomorrow morning. But at least I've got the grass cut. Next cycle is growing. Everything is great. And then I can just see how things develop at this point. So nothing else to do because I need more things for the cows. The other thing one of the commenters did let me know, which I had neglected to recall, was I do need straw for the cows. So it's straw, hay, and silage. So I do need a field that's producing straw before I can really do anything with cows. So it may be that like the biogas is going to keep me going for a bit until I can get set up with cows. Or I, buy straw. I don't know. I'm not sure how that's all going to work. I'm going to have to see how things unfold. But that does mean at a minimum I need a small field. But again, I probably wouldn't do a small field. I probably would just go in and do crops. But I need crops to create straw, is what I'm getting at. And again, not stating very well. So that's the piece that's going to keep me from doing much with the cattle immediately. But at least now I've got some biogas that I can start experimenting with and still have over $2 million. So we're still good. I'm not Elon Musk, but I feel a little bit like that. It's like, yeah, I just spent $800,000. No big deal. That thing's over there. It's mine. I don't even know what it does, but it's cool. We'll let you guys all get back to something else, and I will see you next time. I'm back on here in the morning. I've run a couple loads over to my fermenting silo, but I've decided I'm going to go ahead and start to learn how this biogas plant functions. So it looks like when I give it silage, it's going to give me methane, propane, and digestate or something. I think that's what it is. I'll take a look here. So it's, I think, like electric power, and then this looks like a propane tank, and then digestate. So I can't find any of these things in, other than digestate, in the cell items, but even digestate, possible. Silage is too heavy. I don't know why it stopped. But that's fine. I don't need a full amount, but maybe, again, maybe silage is heavier than grass and it can't fill. So what I'm hoping this does is it just basically sells things. Like it sells that to the energy producers. Because digestate is in the cell list or the item list, but there's no place to sell it. So all I'd be doing is kind of accumulating it. So let's see. So we got this, and the byproducts are obviously the same. That's interesting. So this doesn't take a lot of silage, but let's activate it. And hopefully now I assume I can just sell it because I don't need it. Oh, it's operating. Let's see what happens after that. So I'm going to collect grass. I'm going to keep an eye on this. I've got everything left to collect. I just basically had to stop yesterday and then really couldn't get on. So I knew there was nothing I needed to do. Now, I am tempted. I've been doing a little bit of digging, looking around, and I may end up going ahead and getting the cows moving, because obviously then I can get dairy. And I get I'm going to have to supplement them with straw, but it looks better than I thought, because I think the bale of straw is 9,000 liters for one bale. And I think they're almost $2,000, so it's not nothing, but I think it'll be all right. And I may just kind of try it with a little bit less material to begin with. Basically, meaning just start with like a load of cows so that the barn has something, and then if suddenly it's not workable, I don't go ahead and expand into that. Because, I can make some hay pretty quickly here. So yeah, the sad thing with this is I did lose my line that I had from yesterday, so, maybe I could just go ahead and change the tractor, but this seems to be working pretty well. Yeah, this has 24 cycles a month. Oh, it did finally go down a little bit. Yeah, it's just what may end up happening is I recall people who used to have BGAs talking about that basically once it hits midnight is when things will your income will come in. So it may be that I see nothing happen all day, but I'm probably, what if I get to the point where my silo is full and I have nowhere else to put grass, which, as I think I indicated when I talked about this yesterday, I think I'm going to hit that. Then maybe I'll just start putting things in to the biogas, because it doesn't entirely hurt anything, and I can't imagine it's just a giant waste. That would just seem to be pointless then. Because certainly going through all that, because I know you can use digestate, like if you have a slurry spreader, I think you can put digestate in and it fertilizes a bit better. But that seems like a lot. It seems like a lot to do, and then obviously you're creating those other things for no value. So I'm assuming that I basically sell those to the people that are using them on the map, and it's kind of a background thing, and that's how it operates, as a production of some sort. But I don't know for certain. I'm getting digestate, and maybe that will sell as it goes, because again, I don't know. I do have it set to selling, and that should automatically do that. It's just I don't know at what quantity it starts to distribute that. Does it wait until whatever the digestate tank is full and then sells it all at once or whatever? But and it's a little challenging. I'm looking at my finance tab. I'm just not seeing any income. But the 2,222,517 is what I started. But at the top of the hour, I have production costs for the fermenting silo, for example, that come out. So that balance will change. Obviously, if the balance gets higher than that, I'm obviously making an income somewhere versus just paying the production costs. Because like right now, I've got $58 of production costs for the day, based on what it charged me already for, I guess, the first 5 hours of the day, or 4 hours, depending on how it really works. Alright, that's the row. So yeah, I'm going to end up like starting to collect some of these up, because I don't want to go all the way across and then suddenly come back again. I'm trying to kind of work my way toward the silos. So what I think I'll do is I'll kind of do this side till I get there, and then I'll start at the other side of the field and keep coming in. But once I get enough rows, I'll probably do a couple more of these and then start working on the other swaths here. So I'm going to keep doing that work, and at some point I'll be back and I'll just let you know what's going on then. So I'll see you in a bit. Been on for a bit, making this delivery of grass, and I think that'll be it. So that's going to get me over 900,000. I think the capacity on this is like 920. What I don't want to do is end up with grass that I can't put in. Oh, I'm like literally right there. I got way closer than I thought. So this will now be processing away. Biogas is doing its thing. So what I see is here, I'm getting biogas plant income. Now at the end of the previous hour, meaning at 6 a.m., I was at 192. So basically we went from 192 to 860. So about a little under $600 an hour. So that means what, over a 24-hour period where we're doing about 13,000. Now I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the remaining grass here. So I'm going to disconnect this here and just leave it right now. I'm going to go get myself the tedder and the windrower, and I'm going to turn the rest of this grass into hay. But the other thing that I determined is I think I somewhat overestimated what I was going to get. I mean, not hugely, but initially I was like, oh, I'm going to have all, 500,000 left in hay or something, and it's not going to be that. I might have 100,000, and so I may just throw that into the cow barn to begin with, kind of just start letting that store up there. A little messy in here. Too much brush. I can't see if I... Alright, well, I'm hearing things, so I'm going to assume this is working fine. So we'll let this expand out. And obviously that will then mean that I am going to have the distance to... Yeah, it's still going to be one row at a time. These rows are far enough apart now that it doesn't make sense to TED them, and I don't think I'm going to be I would have been able to in any way TED them into anything together. So we'll lower this down, turn it on, and there we go. Now the problem is, because TEDing is still a little bit messy, it's going to be cleaner to windrow. It's really not that big of a time add. We're going to be able to move pretty quickly. I mean, it's probably going to be 10 or 15 minutes. But, it probably took me, I don't know, an hour and a half to pick up that field, if I'm ballparking it. There were a few things I was doing. So the balance went down because I did some beautification near the biogas plant to just blend some things in again. So, all that landscaping, it cost almost 25,000. So I'm taking advantage of the fact that I have significant amounts of cash. I may regret that at some point. I don't know. Normally I'm not that sloppy with expenditures, but I'm just trying to really make this place feel homey and feel like a welcoming farm, and something that I'm really going to spend some time on, and do that quickly so that I'm not kind of dealing with a half-done farm for more than I need to. It's kind of like the same discussion I've had, within our home, where we talked about, doing granite countertops or something, and we made the decision to go ahead because we said, at some point, like at this point, there's almost an expectation in the area we live that a home will have that, and so that when we go to sell the home eventually, when we're ready to kind of downsize, we're going to have to put them in, and it would really be a shame to have waited until either just before we're moving or a year or two before and suddenly, put that expenditure in, but we don't get any enjoyment out of it. So that seemed a little like a bad decision. And so instead we said, no, we'll go ahead and do it right away. We understand it's, spending money maybe a little quicker than we would have planned, but you get to enjoy it. So I'm doing the same thing here on the farm, where I could have certainly left the hayloft and the cow barn and the silo just kind of in whatever state they were in when they got placed, with all the kind of concrete looking stuff around it, but instead said, no, I'm going to make it look like, it's been placed and we've landscaped and put some things around it. Now again, I didn't, go put any bushes in or anything like that to really make it blend in entirely, but that's fine. It also makes it easier to work around the buildings, and in the end, got to keep in mind a farm's goal is to be working. So yeah, we're getting little tufts here and there, and I'm sure it's because I'm not running a perfectly straight line to some degree, but now we're spewing out to the other side. So I just don't think there's a great way to do this. I think it's just the nature of tedding. It's going to spread things out. Now it's really spreading things out. So whatever shift I made, I definitely crossed into some threshold where I guess that one segment is suddenly grabbing grass and spreading it, is I think what was happening. So coming down here, we got that little bit to the left, and then we'll have that done, and then I'm going to go ahead and get moving on windrowing, and then picking up this hay and getting it over to the cow barn, and that'll be the first thing in there. Still kind of in limbo and hesitating about moving ahead with any cows right now, because I think I'm just not sure the straw is going to work well, but it's kind of that same boat. Like, unless I start, I'm not getting the benefit of it, so maybe I just go with it. Alright, there we go. So tedding is done. Now I can probably put some of this stuff here, just because I'm not going to be pulling out this way. I'm going to come out the other route through the trees, so this is not a bad area. But what I'm trying to do is spread the equipment out a little bit, so that then as I keep using it, it's not just all packed up here and trying to figure out what I want to do, even though I put the lawnmowers back there, but obviously I hadn't had that thought. Alright, I'm thinking, yeah, that's the windrower. I'm like, where is the windrower? But I'm looking at the shapes of everything else, and I'm like, this is the only possibility, because I know what the other things are, and they're not windrowers. Alright. Whoops. I was like, why are things not working? But I was hitting the wrong key. I was already like connecting the PTO and the hoses, and you can't do any of that until you have everything connected or hitched up to your tractor. You've got to do the Q connection first. So get this unfolded before I get up to where I need to be. I may just start with this one, even though it's in the center, but this is the one that's kind of a little more wild. So what I'm going to try to do, I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to, even though this thing is wide, might not quite be wide enough. So what I was going to try to do is straighten this out. I might be able to, except now it went off on me a bit. So let me try again, because I want to get the front blades past it. But what I'm trying to do is basically get it into a row. And yeah, that'll work. Okay. And then I don't have a curve that I need to chase down. I mean, I still have a curved row a little bit there, but that's significantly different than what I had before. That way I just take the forage wagon, run down that, and go from there. So let me get these couple windrows done. We'll jump in with the forage wagon, and we'll start running that over to the cow barn. Alright, I've got everything windrowed up. I'm guessing, again, I don't think I'm going to quite have 100,000 in hay here, and that's the capacity. So that was part of why I was like, well, I'll push the grass because I can get more silage. Let me get this row here first, because that's kind of the last little sloppy piece. So that will do that. Sure, again, that'll give us, you know, a couple thousand maybe. Yep, 2,300. And then we'll head on up and go this route. Now, didn't straighten out my wheel fast enough. What I was going to say is I'm probably just going to drive it. So I can turn these GPS lines off, because I didn't use them with the windrower either, so I don't know why I had them on to begin with, but I kind of meandered around a bit. I just need to keep the tractor centered on this. You know, might be easier to just drive in cab. I haven't done that probably in forever. So, give a little bit of a different perspective, and I think when you're doing that and you're freeform driving, it's simpler, because as you can see, I can basically tuck this windrow in the shape of the hood of the tractor, and the engine cowl just kind of almost gives me a perfect line. So I know I need to move a little bit, and I'm not just doing it from that overhead view. So let's see, we're finally at 50%. We may get significantly less than 100,000. We may barely get 50, but we will get more than 50. I'm pretty comfortable with that. And we don't need a ton, because literally if we want some more tomorrow, I can just continue doing more grass work. So now that we've got everything in, there's always that starting point that takes a bit of time to get the grass seeded and get the field productive, but then once things are going, we can really move along here. So this is where we've got that little bit of a curve. This is really going to be making it significantly easier to have this perspective in cab. Just need to see when it stops picking up. I think it did. Yeah, I'm going to get stuck on a tree. I'd be really surprised if I don't. Somehow I didn't. Alright. And then just got to get around this way. There we go. Picking back up again. We can see our counter going up. And then I'm going to have 50,000 a little ways down the hill, and then we'll just drive that over to the barn. And that'll give us the first opportunity to see how challenging, or not challenging hopefully, it is to load the barn. So here we go. Now you can see we can go significantly faster, get to our max speed, because we're not being held up by working anything at this point. So we'll just pull in this way. I mean, the nice thing here, versus because we've got a little bit flatter layout, is I can come in and just kind of dump things and leave where I need to. I mean, there's a little bit of a dip here where it got put in, but let's see what is happening and why am I not getting... I like losing my mind. I do need hay, but is I too far away? I don't know. At this point, I'm just kind of in this. Let's just do it in first-person perspective and see if we can do it. The problem is, obviously, I can't see anything. But yeah, the hay is the first bin. There we go. I guess we just was a little too far away. You can see things dumping out now. See if we see the pile come up over the wall at all before we're done. We may not have that much, or just may never really get that high from this perspective. Alright. And then my thought is, because this was kind of what I was saying, is, you know, I think we can just come in here, fit between the trees. That's a bigger bump than one would think, and that's got nothing to do with me. That's just how the map is set up. Although I guess, yeah, there's a pretty good dip here too, so not sure. I don't know, maybe the placement did go that far out, but I didn't think so. So get up here, I can see the row. We just need to head up to the top of the row, and then we'll be able to collect that up. I suppose, you know, if you like this first-person perspective and you want to see more of it, I suppose let me know. I'm going to be upfront. I'm not going to go and suddenly, this is not going to become, hey, I'm doing all my farming in first person. It's not going to be that kind of series, because some jobs are good for it, some aren't. But if people are interested and they enjoy just this variety of view and kind of the more realistic, immersive view, I can certainly do this where it makes sense, and there's certainly quite a few jobs that probably will make sense. My cruise control did not turn on, but now we're moving again. But just like the feedback on what we should do with the farm, you know, any kind of feedback's always welcome. If I choose to do something different, you know, whatever I choose to do, I'll let you guys know, and you know, I'll just explain it. And sometimes it frankly is just going to be, I don't enjoy playing that way or doing that, so I'm not going to do that. But certainly when I'm willing to, I'll ask these type of things to solicit some feedback. So, because, you know, otherwise we're overhead and just looking. To me, this is the same thing. It's just through the windshield of a tractor. But for some people, you know, being in the implement might be more fun to watch as opposed to flying overhead in the drone shot. Alright, so maybe we'll get to 30,000. It's gonna be, yeah, we are. Alright, so there you go, 30.5. So that will get us a little bit of material. So the question now becomes, because I've got probably 60,000, and oh, I can turn off the loading wagons so that I can speed up again. I've got more than enough silage to get going, because I'm going to have 60,000 if not more, but I may just bring over one trailer load if I do that, and it may limit me to the 45 that I saw. You know, I can buy some straw, and then I can go get some, you know, I would need to get mineral feed. So let's see. There we go. Get ourselves there. We'll hop on out. So there you go. We've got some numbers in this building finally. But yeah, that pile's never going to be seen over the wall. We're only 20,000 short. You can see what we've got there. Alright. So, just because I'm going to give people the chance to determine if they like this view or not, I'll stick with it for now. So I'm gonna go get probably 1 load of mineral feed. I'm not gonna necessarily try to max this thing out yet because mineral feed is inexpensive, but this will get us down to the FSN location is down the road here. You may recall from the move-in episode, I came down here once we started planting the grass to get my supplies, and one thing I learned on Shellbrook was that I can get mineral feed here as opposed to buying it in pallets and then sitting there and loading it that way. And it's the bulk sales of products are less expensive, so there's no reason not to do it. So here's the bridge with that little river. We'll maybe take a look when we come back if I remember. I looked a little too late to give you a view. I tried to do that before overhead and caused a problem, but yeah, this is actually simpler to look around because I can more readily tell that I'm set up here. So this viewpoint does give me that. Speed limit of 50. See, like I don't even know what the street signs are on the roads here. So we've got a person. This is the Circle Saloon, and so yeah, now we'll get a little bit of a different perspective on the FSN facility, but you know, we've got the signs telling us customs is there, and then obviously we can come in here. But given the intersection, yeah, I like that they put a couple signs in. It's pretty good. I'm trying to remember what we've got as fill types. I think that's the liquid silo. So I need to pop over here. Alright, see, and this is the stuff that, I mean, I guess once I understand it, I could do first person, but clearly I'm missing something because I'm not where I need to be. So let me go back to my tried and true method of knowing how to get places. Well, it's not giving me an indicator either way, so interesting. Can I not? Oh, you know what? I need the crampy. I drove down here for nothing. This is the wrong trailer. Let me get back up to the farm, and I'll grab the crampy and I'll come back down here. I don't think you need to see the trip again, and we'll just pretend nothing happened. The other trailer's kind of red too. Just ignore the green back. Alright, so I lied. I'm gonna do something a little different, because the other thing I need to do is get silage over. So get back in cab here, and I'm gonna go through the opening from the road that's coming up here shortly. There it is. So it kind of gives you that perspective. So this was my other opportunity, but I kind of like leaving the entrance to the field there. And you know, we got the biogas plant over there, but silage does go in this trailer. So rather than switch to the Grampy, then go back, get this trailer, I'm like, let me just get what I can done here, which probably means I should do some other stuff as well. I'm just hoping. I'm gonna try. So, alright, let's fill this. So I know what's going on in my head. I'm gonna share it with you now. Straw. So yes, it will pick up straw, so will the crampy. Alright, so there must be a weight limit with silage that I can only do 45,000. I think I was moving the silage with the crampy normally. I wasn't doing it with the forage wagon, so I could have done that, because yeah, the crampy kind of takes everything. But we've got this. Then we'll probably drop this, and I'm gonna go attempt to get some straw. So I'm gonna buy 1 bale, because if I need to pick it up and like transport it, yeah, what I don't want to do is suddenly have a bunch of straw and then I can't use it. That would be pretty irritating. Alright, so silage is the large one. I'm going to try to get a little closer here. So yeah, coming in this way, I mean, normally it probably, in hindsight, it's probably better to do the silage from a different pull-in, because now I'm like an owl. I just turn my head all the way around. And owls can't do that either, but they can turn a lot more than humans. But yeah, that was weird. So if I do first person, I guess I probably should try to actually act like there's a person here. So let me buy a bale. Now the bigger bales of straw, they're a little more per, but not much, so we'll buy this one. Now it should be at the shop. Question is, can I get... I wonder if I can get in there from here, from my farm. Just a little bit of exploring. See what we see. But no, this is, I think, just this location, whatever it is. Yeah, we can't get over that way. So yeah, that was just a fun little detour. Didn't really help anything, but if we don't try, we don't know, right? So, alright, but we gotta go where that purple telehandler is. So, let me drive on over there. It's the debris crusher. Hope to never need that. There's a gas station here, which is great. And then, yeah, it's not this road, it's the next one. So this is where the shop is. So somewhere here, probably to the left, because that's where all the other stuff spawns, I would imagine. Yep, there's a bale. So I'm hoping I can just pull up next to it and grab stuff. And if I can, then I'll buy more of these, but... Shoot. So it's not gonna let me do that. It's gonna, like, make me pick it up, isn't it? Ah, that's terrible. Alright. I'm gonna try it with the crampy. My concern is that I'm going to need to pick it up with something, and the only thing I have to pick it up with is my forklift. And this, while nearby, is not that nearby. You know, because again, I could, I suppose, I could use the local telehandler there. That's why it's there at the shop, so you can load things up. But I just don't know if it's going to then operate the way things normally would. Decisions. Because my concern is, if I put it in to the crampy and just like drop it in, I suppose I can try to be really careful with the telehandler, and then if it doesn't work, I can, like, if it doesn't start treating it as if it's falling in, then I can not do that. Because yeah, if this becomes like a very, oh, I need a truck for this. Clearly I've not been on the farm for a while. I don't even know what my what equipment I need and how it works. Alright, so let me disconnect this here so I can... Yeah. The right thing to do is what I'm doing. I'm already connected to the animal transport. I should just go get a couple cows, but if I can't feed them, and I'm not going to actually be able to run this, then I'm still going to be waiting on the cows, so we're going to hold off. Alright. So yeah, that area back there with the field, a lot of room back there, but again, you're just paying for a lot of land. And I mean, I suppose I could expand the field or something, but just not sure if that ever makes sense. So maybe one of these days we'll see how this all plays out. Alright, I don't know that I want to be in cab in this truck. This is not American Truck Simulator. I do that in another series if you're interested in this stuff. But yeah, I don't like the view from here, so I am going to get out. Frankly, it was making me a little queasy, and I don't normally get motion sickness, so just tipping to the side and all that. Somehow in a tractor I'm okay with it, but in that truck with the limited visibility, it was just not going well. Now, because it's one thing, like if I can dump the straw and it'll like turn into straw, and then I can dump this, while it's an inconvenient way to do this, while I don't have a field, like this gives me an alternative, and then again I can make the decision because I know it's workable or not. But if I can't even do that, I mean, what I should be able to do then is drive the... Oh, I went too far. I should be able to drive over and dump the bale if I need to, and I think I'll just... For this case, because I'm not going to do multiples, like if I was going to load a bunch, I would do it myself, but in this case, I'll use the telehandler and move it. Normally we don't want to do that stuff. Yeah, this is just not going to take it this way. So let me see. So if I do this, spear it and try to put it in, and then what I'm looking for is similar to when I've put bales, say, in a TMR mixer. You know, I can just dump it in the top. What I want to do is I want to start seeing the numbers off the bale, because I'm... Okay, well, it won't let me spear the bale? Really? Come on. This is just getting better and better. How exactly would I transport this then? This is like the goofiest thing I've ever seen. Is it because it's forks and not a bale spear or something, so FS doesn't let you work with it? Oh, this is so ridiculous. So yeah, unless something significantly changes, we're not doing cows right now. Yeah, this isn't even gonna let me touch this. This is insane. I can't spear this at all, even. Well, now I have this bale I literally can't do anything with. Alright, I'm hoping this will make it there. I'm also hoping that when I get it there, it will actually just go in. But yes, I am not going to transport one, maybe two bales. I think trying to put bales on top of each other is... That's exactly what I was going to get at. Oh boy. Okay. Yeah, because a forklift obviously doesn't have any way to attach anything. Like, you can't put straps on, at least not with what I have. So, and initially, we'll see what we do. I'm not really worried about people's cars, so I'm gonna be... And maybe I'll run it this way. Maybe that'll work. I just need something. Like, I had to go against the fence to get the forks to go underneath, and I think my fork is now hitting the concrete, is what's going on. Oh, this is marvelous. So I can't even get under there. This is so foolish. Oh boy, oh boy. Alright. But that's not gonna work, because now I'm, like, at the end. So yeah, I got it on. So I'm gonna try to move this way toward the car. Oh, let's see. Will it? No. So it lets the forks go in, which is great. That's even better. So under there, I can pick it up. Alright, now I'm going to put it down. So what I'm trying to do is basically do what I did with the fence, which was be able to get my forks underneath and then pick it up and pull it away a bit. The challenge here, however, is I'm still like not lined up where I need to. Alright, maybe I've got. But the problem is, again, now if I tip this in. Oh boy. It's like I have to go super slow because this thing is really heavy. And so any kind of turn. So what I was going to say, trying to stack two up, I'm sure just trying to get it back would be difficult. Now, if this just falls off on the street, I'm going to cry. Maybe I'll do that off camera. But even doing it, if I could somehow do 2 bales at a time, I think it would be insanely difficult. Because I'm just curious, like as soon as I start hitting any bumps, like what this will be like here. I hope there's no traffic. I don't know. I don't know that I've seen any traffic, so maybe the map has no traffic, which is fine. It's certainly fine now. But I'm not going to transport 100,000 liters, which would be 100 bales, like this. I'm not even going to transport 2. So, obviously I want to get this off the map. So I want to get it back to my farm and hopefully have it absorbed into my barn. And then call the experiment over. But, so, yeah, I can't do anything with cows until I have a way to get them straw. I mean, if someone, with what I have, I'm not looking to buy equipment just to move straw around, because obviously that's not my long-term process. But if someone has an idea of, hey, this is what you can do, I think this hill is bad. You know what, I see this as a problem just that's gonna happen. So I'm not gonna like tempt fate. But what I'm gonna try to do is if I go backwards, technically the physics model should then mean that if the bale starts to fall, it's gonna fall toward me as opposed to off my forks. Similarly, pulling into this spot, like I know there's a bit of a dip. There we go. Now, I'm still hopeful because I think the trigger's like in the center somewhere. But because I'm carrying it, like I don't think it's like treating it as if it's present in the trigger. There we go. So I think it took it. It did. 9,028. Cool. Alright. So yeah, I guess I'd have to transport 10, but still. I'll think about it, but I don't think so. But if anyone with what I have, what I was going to say, if anyone can think with what I have, how I could transport the straw that would make it reasonable, I'll be willing to entertain that. But right now, no. We're waiting until we can get straw some way, because clearly I have no way to get this here. So then let's summarize where we're at. Again, I just took a bunch of silage here, so we're just down to 30,000. It's going to process all that grass into silage, which is great. I've still got, of the 45,000 I moved, 40,000 left to go. We'll see what that looks like. We're still at 860, so basically at the top of every hour, so we're going to see it here, so we'll just wait. And then We can probably just watch it here, and we'll see it go from 860 to something else. If it doesn't happen in what should be a minute, obviously then I'll go back out. It's possible these charts don't update that way. I don't know. You can see our bale cost of $12.90. Again, I have a loss today because of the construction costs of beautifying around the biogas plant. Alright, clearly it's not updating. There we go. So we went from 860 to 1529. But yeah, we have that going. So I just want to summarize. So I've collected all the grass. I've got most of it in the fermenting silo. We've moved some silage over to biogas just so I start to understand how this is going to work. This is biogas, sorry. And then the fermenting silo here. And then, you know, I've turned some hay off the field, and so I've got hay in here, which is going to sit here now. I'm not going to go buy mineral feed. You know, I'll let this little bit of straw sit. That'll be great. But right now, it looks like I've got $1 million barn that's going to sit empty for a long while. So, once again, if someone's got an idea of how I can do that, that isn't just massively labor intensive in the setup we have, that would be great. You know, what I'm looking for is that I can come next to the bale and get it into whatever I have and then bring it to the farm and deposit it. But picking them up like that and then having to carry them like I'm balancing crystal, that's not fun. I did not enjoy that at all. It may have been fun to watch. It was not fun to do. So that's what I've got right now here on Hobo's Hollow. So right now it appears I'm focusing on biogas because I can't focus on anything else unless I just abandon this as a grass field, but that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. So I'll be digging into that, I guess. And obviously, well, I can cut the grass and throw it into the hayloft. We'll see. Tomorrow is a day I might not be able to be on much, so I may just let the grass, even though it'll be ready for harvest on the field, I may just let it sit. But you'll find out in the next episode. So I will see you next time.